Hello, and welcome to this episode of Office of the Patriot, where I try to make sense out of the nonsense of the progressive left and rhino right. And I'm your host, Myron Ybarra. So, what is the value of a promise or an oath? Do you credulously believe what you're being told, or are you a skeptic like me? This is the question virtually every American has been struggling with all this week as a result of bumbling Joe Biden's pardon of his felonious son, Hunter. In this episode of Office of the Patriot, I'm going to go over the particulars of this pardon to include some of the history surrounding Joe Biden's position on issuing a pardon to his son, the media's complicity on protecting Joe Biden before and after issuing the pardon, as well as a deep dive into some of the reasons I believe Bumbling Joe issued the pardon in the first place. So unless you've been living under a rock, you are all well aware of the fact that Joe Biden has issued a pardon to his son, Hunter Biden, as a result of the convictions he sustained in two federal district courts, one in the Central District of California and the other in the District of Delaware. These felony convictions were the result of two independent cases that carried multiple charges within each case. The most recent case was out of the district court in Delaware, where Hunter Biden was found guilty of 2 counts of providing a false statement to purchase a firearm and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a person who is addicted to controlled substances. In the case out of the Central District of California, Biden was found guilty of 2 counts of failure to file and pay taxes, evasion of tax assessment, and filing a false tax return. Now, all of these are felony charges, and all of them carry significant penalties if the defendant is found guilty, which Hunter Biden was. Now, during the entire process of both of these cases against Hunter, Bumbling Joe claimed that he would honor the will of the people and the sanctity of the court and would not pardon his son. He said this numerous times, and his clown of a press secretary, KJP, claimed the same. And of course, the Democrat media sycophants parroted the claim while portraying themselves and Bumbling Joe as the purveyors of justice, unlike conservatives and Donald Trump. For those of you who may have missed the countless times this happened, here's a collage of these lies to bring you up to speed.
From a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well,
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead.
Why doesn't President Biden just pardon him?
President, I've been very clear. The president's not going to pardon his son.
And one more.
It's still a no. It's still a
It
no.
will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No. The president, I could speak for the president, and he said he would not pardon his son, and I'm just going to leave it there.
And Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son, he would not commute his sentence. How stark is this difference? I mean, how can Republicans keep making this argument now that Joe Biden has really put it out there?
Right. He's now been pretty emphatic over the last few days that he does not plan to pardon or commute his son. What that really is him saying is, I don't plan to use the powers of the office, the powers of the presidency, to provide private relief for my family. In a sense, he's staking out a pretty bright line between being, as he says, a president and a dad. And that's not just an emotional expression. He's, in effect, saying, I don't think that I don't have a right, even if it's legal, and God knows it must be tempting, to use this power in a way that is not available to so many other Americans facing similar kinds of struggles.
I think it's a big deal because it really undercuts the argument that this is rigged on the other side, right? Both things can't be true. And so I think the president, it's really hard for him to say, I won't pardon my son. I will not commute his sentence. How hard that is. It's also coming through that Biden's just a decent guy and a nice and a great father.
Exactly what Joe Biden said after Donald Trump's conviction, that we have to have faith in our judicial system, that no one is above the law, and that a jury of 12 ordinary people looks at facts, not political spin, and decides whether someone has broken the law. And the fact that he's going to respect this verdict, even though he could wipe it out with a stroke of a pen, even though he could have kept it from happening with a stroke of the pen, tells America what they need to know about the man who occupies the Oval Office.
And I feel like that just undercuts whatever the Republican argument here is about Biden rigging the system among the voters that will actually matter in this next election.
Well, there are three things there. I mean, number one, the conviction of Hunter Biden shows the system is not rigged. It also shows this is the way the rule of law looks. This is what it looks like when no one is above the law. And President Biden has also said, has said on the record that he will not use his pardon power to free his son if Hunter Biden gets a prison sentence. Now, there are some people who are skeptical about that, but I don't think there's any reason to doubt his word at this point.
Well, tonight, a presidential promise to put the law before family.
I'm extremely proud of my son, Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know. And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Well, that's President Joe Biden at a critically important global huddle, letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers to convict him of federal gun charges.
I would love to put up all of the videos for you to watch. However, there are so many of them that I had to cut a good chunk out. But all of the videos, along with all the receipts for this presentation, are available in the description section below. What's interesting is virtually none of these legacy media sycophants has issued an apology, let alone a retraction of the high praise they were giving Joe Biden before he pardoned his son. I guess they're just so used to having egg on their face that they're not even bothering to wipe it off now. So we move forward to Joe Biden's 180-degree flip from not pardoning his son and respecting the rule of law to where we are today. And after just a bit of scouring, I was able to find the official pardon in the Justice Department website, as well as the official statement from the White House. And I will read you an excerpt of the verbiage of the White House statement, and feel free to follow along. Today, I signed a pardon for my son, Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department decision-making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Now, I'm going to get back to that part of the statement in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the reason Bumbling Joe claims he's pardoning his son in the first place. And he goes on to claim people are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. Those who were late paying their taxes because of serious addictions, but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties, are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. Okay, let's talk about the gun charge. If you recall just a bit earlier in the presentation, I noted what the charges were. Yes, Hunter was charged with false statements on a gun form, but he was also charged with possession of a firearm illegally. In fact, the moron had it for 11 days before his his daughter-in-law, which is the same thing to Hunter, decided to throw it away into a garbage can because she freaked out about him having a gun because he's a crackhead. And don't mind the fact that she threw away the gun in a garbage can that was pretty close to a high school. That's a whole other story. Now, he only had the firearm for 11 days, but had she not have thrown it away, he might still have the firearm today. Isn't it convenient that Bumbling Joe chose to omit the one charge of all the charges in that case that is the most serious, the actual illegal possession of the firearm? That's much like saying that you got charged with a burglary, but in fact, in the commission of the burglary, you killed somebody and neglected to disclose that part of the crime. In my opinion, it's pretty stupid of Bumbling Joe to put out an official statement from the White House that omits a very critical part of that entire case. Next, Bumbling Joe claims that people who are late paying their taxes because of these controlled substance addictions are typically given non-criminal resolutions. His words, not mine. Evidently, he didn't bother to check to see if what he was claiming was actually factual. Again, because if you take a look at this next video, you'll find, well, that isn't the case.
How did you take the news that Biden pardoned his son?
Well, to be honest with you, I really wasn't that pretty much surprised. I kind of felt it all along that it was going to come. I mean, the human part of me is that, and the human part in all of us is that you're going to look out for your own flesh and blood. And I kind of figured that that's what he was going to do. But it does send a very awful message to not just me, but, you know, millions and millions of Americans. I'm really not surprised, but it's hurtful to hear that, because you would think that the way our justice system is designed, that it's fair and it's equitable, where someone has a felony or multiple felonies, that they should do, or they should face the consequences behind that. And, you know, in the fourth quarter, you know, things change completely around, that they're pardoned. You know, there's plenty of people that wish they could get a pardon, because it really does affect their civil liberties as they move on.
So, as you saw in the video, Mr. D'Souza served 10 months in prison for not paying his taxes, much like Hunter Biden. The difference was Mr. D'Souza was delinquent a bit over $67,000 and served a 10-month term for his delinquency, versus Hunter Biden's $1.4 million tax bill, where he suffered no such punishment. And again, this fact blows Bumbling Joe's claim of fairness out of the water. But let's travel down this rabbit hole of fairness just a bit. Joe Biden is currently on record telling Americans that he believes that the DOJ unfairly targeted his son because of the Biden name. Okay, these cases are all pretty old. The gun case is 2018. So if the DOJ was in fact targeting Hunter as a result of Hunter being a Biden, then why is Merrick Garland still the director of the Department of Justice? I mean, if you legitimately believe that your DOJ and that your Attorney General have it out for you, doesn't it make sense to replace them, to terminate them and replace them? Of course it does. If you're a president that believes in fundamental fairness and the rule of law, and you believe that your Justice Department is tainted, which I believe it is, just not the way he believes it is, it stands to reason that you would want to clean it up, especially given the fact that you have the power to do that as President of the United States. But we all know that's not true. So if the pardon wasn't issued to save Hunter Biden, which all evidence points to the fact that it wasn't, why was it issued? Well, I believe it was issued to save Joe Biden's ass, as well as all of the shot callers within the Democrat Party. You see, Hunter Biden has been involved in a lot of criminal activity, and you get a glimpse of that not just from the archives of media coverage that he has been given as a result of his felonious behavior throughout the years, but you can actually see it from the pardon itself. When pardons are granted, they are typically issued specifically for a conviction or convictions, and this pardon follows suit. However, what makes it just a bit different than all other pardons is that it covers not only the convictions he suffered, but it covers potential felonious behavior from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, an almost 10-year period. And it protects Hunter Biden for any offenses committed against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during this period. This is the king of get out of jail free cards. But it's not new to Hunter. If you recall, during the plea deal of the tax and gun charges that were negotiated for Hunter, the plea deal stipulated protections from future criminal charges. And the judge overseeing the case raised concerns over the terms, likely because of the low penalties and this blanket protection from future prosecution, and then obviously denied the plea deal. So why was Hunter given this blanket protection again for any charges that may result during the aforementioned period? Well, one theory is because Donald Trump is coming into office and Kash Patel is tapped to be his new FBI director, and Pam Bondi is going to be the new Attorney General. Bumbling Joe may have thought that this law enforcement team would do exactly what he's been doing through Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland to conservatives via lawfare to his son. And okay, I kind of see that. I mean, I would want to protect my kids if I had the means to do that from their own stupidity. Although my kids are not nearly as old or as stupid as Hunter appears to be. But I have another theory. I believe that Hunter Biden knows where quite a few bodies are buried. And because he's a recovering crackhead, he is a liability. Think about it. If a crackhead knows who's been involved in the Burisma scandal, or the China Biden funding scandal, or even his most recent philanthropic excursion selling finger paintings for $500,000 to people wanting access to the big guy, he's going to be a liability. So it was either Joe pardons Hunter, thereby protecting himself and other guilty parties, or letting the Clintons have him. That's not going to happen. So let's be clear. Some of this is my own opinion based on factual data that I've accumulated, and that data is available to you in the description section below. So again, please take the time to check it out and come to your own conclusions. What is going to validate this episode is future pardons by Bumbling Joe, and I believe there's going to be more than a few coming down the pike for prosecutors, cabinet members who were involved in lawfare cases against Donald Trump. The one person I'm almost certain that will receive a pardon is DOJ Special Counsel Jack Smith, along with Anthony Fauci. Jack Smith pushed the election interference and classified document cases against Trump, and you guys know what Fauci did. But time will tell. This concludes today's episode of Office of the Patriot. If you enjoyed the presentation, please take the time to like, subscribe, and share this channel on your social media. It is appreciated. Also, please take the time to comment. Viewer engagement via comments is the major metric for channel accessibility on most social media platforms. The more people that like, comment, and subscribe, the more this channel will come up when social and political content like this is searched for. And as always, have a blessed day and stay safe out there.